A noted American poet once said that the difference between a democracy and a dictatorship is that in a democracy, you vote first and take orders later. In America, every American deserves the right to vote. Voting is the best way to get your opinions heard because it allows each person to influence the government and help elect leaders that represent their views. Voting is an essential tenet of democracy, and nothing should stand in the way of a person's right to vote. Since 2010, laws have been passed around the U.S. as well as in Tennessee that limit people's voting rights, such as the Voter ID law. People who cannot access these appropriate forms of identification, mainly the urban poor and African Americans, are barred from voting, which is a violation of their basic freedoms.
The voter ID requirement law affects the urban poor because they might not have any acceptable form of identification. ID issuing offices are sometimes too far out of reach for the urban poor, which makes them less likely to vote. In Knoxville, the nearest ID issuing office is 11 miles away from Knoxville's city center. 61,600 of Knoxville's eligible voters live more than 5 miles away, making it inconvenient for the 27% of these eligible voters who are poor to reach these ID centers. Acceptable forms of ID are sometimes very expensive. For example, the citizenship certificate costs nearly $345. Birth certificates cost between $15 to $30, and these documents can be difficult to obtain.
Requirements became harsher. Voter turnout in Pennsylvania from 2008 to 2012 decreased by 2.4%, with a net swing of 1.2% in favor of the Republican Party. Similarly, Tennessee's voter turnout decreased by 1.6%, with a net swing of 0.8% to Republican candidates, indicating that strict voter ID requirement laws produce a bias in election results. This implies that the opinions of American citizens who cannot afford to meet these requirements are being misrepresented.
I propose that the voting ID laws be relaxed in order to allow the urban poor and other people who do not have access to the appropriate forms of voter identification to be allowed to use other verifiable forms of identification, such as driver's licenses and other forms of photo ID. I feel that this would benefit America and Tennessee as a whole because it would lead to increased voter turnout as well as more participation in elections. I believe that this law would gain support in Congress and as well as the Tennessee State House.